You have 3 days, maybe less. Prices within the Armory are going to steadily increase until we get news. And realistically, that news is going to come in early March. So if you want your items to be tradable when that news hits, you need to accumulate, and you need to accumulate in the next 3 days. I've given you my predictions, I've talked about each collection in depth in separate videos, but if you're smart, you won't blindly follow me, but you will listen. So here is the complete Armory investment guide. Every collection, every float value you need to know, and every trade up angle. This guide is for any risk tolerance, it's for any budget range. All you need to do is scale it to your liking, because something in here will catch your eye, because I go over everything. Now, starting off, should you be redeeming right now with your stars that you have? Probably not. Maybe some stickers, but your priority should be to be saving these up right now in anticipation of the new collections coming, which we could realistically expect at the end of the month or very early April. Since we are now at our 4th limited edition item, something I've come to realize with these limited edition items specifically is that the value doesn't necessarily rise on scarcity alone. Instead, it rises based on the patterns in which you have. Patterns are going to actually move the needle for you. Instead of treating the AK Aphrodite like one skin, treat it like 1,000 skins. The base price may continue to stay steady, but the ones with great patterns, those will be the ones that do great in the long term. And if we think about it like that, your chances of getting a good pattern are 1 in 1,000. Multiply that by your chances of getting a good wear, which is 27% for factory new and minimal wear. Well, you're better off just purchasing it yourself. It's simply too big of a risk and too big of a drain on your stars that you have, so consider purchasing them straight from the market. Now, buy orders work very well here specifically, because when you use a buy order and purchase something from the market, it never hits the market directly, taking bots out of the situation, making it much easier and much more probable for someone to sell a gem or a tier 2 gem straight to you without any of the hassle of scrolling through the charts and finding one yourself. This happens a lot more than you think, and that's because the same principle applies very much so to charms in a very similar fashion. Beyond trading up with charms accidentally on your guns and the natural dormancy and banning of accounts as time goes on, charms don't dissipate in supply, much at all. And the expensive ones, the high tier sought after ones, people are not going to trade those up by accident, at least not as much, and they're not going to dissipate much at all. So again, your best option is patterns, because let's say if there's 1 million AK charms in circulation, only around 100,000 of those are going to drive demand. If we take a look at the Armory revenue report that was posted in around early February that's been circulating around the community, the newer charm collections have actually done pretty well considering that sticker slabs were added in the same time frame, which subsequently dipped demand very hard for charms. So our best educated guess would be Missing Link and Small Arms leaving. But while all this money is going towards the collections that people think are going to leave, it's not necessarily a bad idea to put money in the charms that you think are going to stay in the Armory. Because when things that people expect to leave go up, usually the ones that they don't expect to leave stay relatively stagnant, making your price better relative. Again, you are placing buy orders on these charms. People are not aware that some charms change with pattern indexes, especially on Steam, which makes your odds of getting a good pattern for market price much, much better. The ones that I think look good for discontinuation are the diecast AK, the titanium AWP, the semi-precious, and from the Missing Link charms, the Hot Howl, and the Diamond Dog. These are the most sought after now. I imagine they'll continue to be the most sought after when they leave. We saw a slight overcorrection in the demand of charms when slabs came out, but we seem to be going back towards an equilibrium point in which they both coexist peacefully. Charms, at least this first generation of charms, will be decently lucrative. And if anything, the slabs actually helped these guys out a little bit, because while the slabs were a new thing, people were redeeming less charms as a result. Now for the skin collections. As I said in my prediction video, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility for all 3 to go. Sport and Overpass have been in for a long time that will eventually reach a fatigue point with consumers, and the purchasing that's happening right now smells more of anticipatory purchasing rather than organic driven demand. But if they leave Train 2025 in, it's not like it's going to magically increase in demand, especially when there's 2 new shiny collections sitting right next to it. But even if it stays for that same exact reason, we wouldn't have to worry about our investment prospects there because people simply aren't going to redeem it. Even though the Sport and Overpass are still very popular right now, if 2 new collections come in, people are going to redeem it less. Especially with these operation rumors going around, it probably would be in Valve's best interest to swap out 3, put in 3, and let the consumers have their fresh new Armory pass with an operation theme. Now we've been through these quite a bit, so I'm going to rapid fire through them and just give you the key floats you need if you feel like purchasing one of them. Now as we previously spoke about, factory new purples and blues tend to outpace pinks and reds when discontinuation news hits. But in the long term, the pinks and reds over time start to make more gains percentage-wise than purples and blues. So if you have the time and patience to flip and then rotate into pinks and reds, that would be your most profitable endeavor. However, if you just stick with one and ride it, you probably won't do too bad either. But if you're still unsure and you don't want to mitigate your risk or lock up your money for the next 6 months, if you've been holding for a while, it might be a good idea to sell in the next 3 days. People are buying before the rotation hits, hoping their convictions are correct and they make, subsequently, more money. But you, if you've already been holding the skins, you have to sell it to them, and you can set the price. Now, if you're up 2x and you want to sell to people with conviction, you'll not only get your money back, but you'll also have a few extras laying around that you can hold without any of the risk of having your money involved. So now your remaining inventory is pure upside, zero downside. And that's a trade any financier would take. Now, if you're going to be making moves on this, and you should be, you need a marketplace that'll actually let you execute, that'll actually get you your items on time, and that won't eat you up purely on fees, which is why I'd point you to UUSkins, and which is why I work with them. UUSkins offers Americans and Europeans alike direct access to the Chinese marketplace with competitive fees, a 10-hour guaranteed delivery, and 24/7 support if you run into any issues. Inventories are massive. You won't have to worry about illiquidity or not finding the gun you want. UUSkins has it all. If you don't believe me, scan the QR code right here and check it out for yourself. Now, short term, you're looking for nothing special guns. Why? Well, because you want to be able to list, sell right into a buy order, and get your money immediately. You do not want to be holding a .0000005 float gun, because then you can't put it up for a buy order. You have to hope someone scrolls down to your listing and presses purchase on it. That stuff comes after. That stuff you don't list. The stuff you do list are the .069 float skins that you just sell and if someone buys right away because you put it right on them with the buy order. So if Sport and Field gets discontinued, you'd sell your 85% fade when it gets announced, but you won't sell your 99% fade until a couple months later. You need liquidity here, not perfection. Train 2025, our favorite collection here in Mike Water 9. Now obviously all factory new purples are going to be your best bet here. However, if you want the Zeus, you can get any float you'd like. All factory new Zeuses trade up to pinks within the Train 2025 collection, so no worries there. For the Mac 10 though, you only have a 0 to 0.7 float cap, which means you need to purchase under .049 if you'd like to trade up to a factory new pink. If you have any over that number, don't worry. Those are ones you could sell on the day of if they get discontinued. The Tech 9 Whiteout. Obviously the factory new one you're not going to trade up because it has demand in its own right. However, the minimal wear ones also carry factory new floats, meaning that you can use a minimal wear Tech 9 and get a factory new output. That threshold is from .07 to .125. So if you have a Tech 9 within that threshold, you'll be able to use it as a trade up filler, which is why it might be a little bit more expensive than a .14 Tech 9 Whiteout. Now, the blues in a case typically perform worse than purples, right? They're more common. But in the Train 2025 collection, it's going to be a little bit different. The Tech 9 will command trade-ups, which means more blues will be used to trade up into the Tech 9. The Tech 9 doesn't have an 100% rate of you getting it, even if you use 10 blues. So even if a trade-up goes through and it hits the Train 2025 collection, you still have a chance of getting a low float Zeus or a low float Mac 10. So that relative oversupply of purples and the draining of the supply of mil specs are going to reflect in the long-term price action. Your key floats for the Glock and UMP, these are your 0 to 1s, so they require the highest float possible. .0105 will get you a factory new whiteout. The FAMAS and XM, since they are capped, need a little bit lower. The FAMAS .0086 and the XM .0075. Under those floats, you will get a factory new Tech 9 whiteout. The others won't command as much, but they will still be pretty valuable to hold. And then once you flip, the pinks and factory new, Hellish and Latte Rush, do look great because they are 0 to 1, thus requiring super low floats to get and very hard to unbox as well. Same thing goes for the Long Dog. For Overpass, we're doing that same purple and blue flip. From the purples, the AUG Eye of Zappums will be the best, but to be honest, all three of them are very similar in float range, so they really won't, be drastically different in terms of price. And if you do see a drastic price difference, then you buy the cheapest one. The XM Monster Melt you're going to want under .0535. The AUG under .0595, and the Dual Berettas .0574. These will all get you a factory new Op Krakow or a factory new Zeus Dragon Snore. Now obviously you want the Krakow because it is the harder factory new output as it is 0 to 1, the Zeus only 0 to 0.8. However, because the AKB the monster is not 0 to 1 either, it is also 0 to 0.8. A factory new Zeus from 0 to .07 all works to trade up to a factory new be the monster. So this is a winning trade up if you can get 10 under the price of either of them. And just for reference, here are some of the float ranges for your blues within the Overpass collection. The Nova Worst Hala is 0 to 1, so any float in Factory New will do. The Mac 10 Pipsqueak is 0 to 0.9, making your float range for Factory News 0 to 0.063. The Glock Teal Graph needs to be under 0.035, and the Galil Metallic Squeezer needs to be below 0.042. Then of course your Factory New pinks, all of them because of the AK's float range, make for a good investment long term. The AWP and Zeus are probably better than the AK, right? Because you can't trade up the AK once you get it, so there might be a relative oversupply compared to pinks in the future. The AWP will probably outperform because the Zeus, no one fucking uses it, sucks. So the AWP will probably do better long term, and I think people like that skin, so should have pretty good prospects. Now we go into the Sport and Field, and disregarding the supply of the Sport and Field guns, we have to be a little bit cautious here because our float situation is much different than trains and overpasses. The 5.7 heat treated has a 0 to 1 float cap, and the Factory New one is very, very valuable right now, but I do not think that's actually because of its use as a trade up filler, but rather the low supply it has in Factory New because it is 0 to 1, and its probability to have different patterns. Right, I do think in terms of a trade up filler, it is overpriced right now because you can get the Axia and Rainbow Spoon in high floats and still get a Factory New fade. That's why sticking with the MP9 and UMP within the collection are going to bode pretty well, as they are much cheaper, around half the price right now. The Arctic Tritone MP9 you're going to want under 0.042 for a Factory New pink, and the UMP Crimson Foil under a 0.0476. Now again, you don't really need under those floats because those get you Factory New pinks, which you don't need to get to the M4 fade. However, as we talked about yesterday, China is interested in the Factory New Axia, so maybe if you want one of those, holding some of these MP9s and UMPs under those ranges will bode well in the future. But just for strictly flipping, you don't necessarily need any float values, just Factory New, UMP, MP9, those are going to be your best bets. Now because the purple and blue situation is a little bit fucky within the Sport and Field collection, I don't disagree with just outright buying pinks and reds to start with right now. The M4 fade, if you can get a good fade percentage, it is pretty cheap right now, and the Axie and Rainbow Spoon are also pretty cheap, as you could buy them field tested and get a fade in Factory New regardless. So now you know all the key information for all of the collections. So now all you have to do is choose your favorite looking skins. Moving into the stickers. The elemental stickers are probably the most anticipated to be leaving. Now, these don't hurt as much from the slab update because you have to pretty much apply them in order for them to look good. You need 5 of them working in tandem, which not only is good for the supply, but is good for the collection because you, as I said, can't put them in slabs. The community stickers that are in the Armory right now are going to hurt more than the craft stickers from the slab update. This is more of a spread yourself throughout type of play, avoiding the obviously bad ones, but looking, towards the lightning bolt ones, the ones with hydro streams and the red wave ones. Those are going to be probably your best movers. But we know about this one already. The other one that's pretty much guaranteed to leave is the Sugarface 2 collection, which is the one with skulls on it. If you looked at that Armory revenue report, that sticker collection only made Valve $36,000 in the last 5 months. That is dismally low looking at all of the other numbers and comparing it to this one. We should be definitely expecting this one to go bye-bye as well. Now that revenue is going to reflect in the demand once it does get discontinued. These prices are not going to rise pretty much for a long time, but I imagine they'll perform similar to the Riptide stickers, which similarly had very low demand, but now they're just so very low scarcity and there's more players around that the demand goes up and subsequently price. But don't expect $500 stickers 3 months from now. I don't know, maybe if China fucking wants to, but Now, the last item within our Armory is the Fever Case. Now, accumulating looks a little bit better here as well, especially if they're getting the spotlight thrown on them a little bit because of the New York situation. But also, it really doesn't have any downside. Price is capped. Same thing as if you bought a sticker for 3 cents, it literally can't go down. The Fever Case is pegged to its 2-star price point, or else no one would redeem them. Arbitraging through third parties seems like your best bet here, rather than redeeming though. That way you start with upside and have no downside. So that is every collection broken down, but let me make it even easier for you. You've got about 2.5 days to purchase. Now you have all the information you need. If you don't want to scrub through this video every time, check out cs2liquid.com. It has all of the tools that I used in this video to use for this video. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out on Twitch, where I'll be live streaming tonight in a few hours, probably around 4 to 5 p.m., but I will leave it in the comments to confirm. I've done all the work for you. You have 0 excuses now. Cheers.